This is my ClickUp tutorial for project management so you can use ClickUp to manage your projects. You're going to learn how to get started in ClickUp with your workspace, creating your first project, managing your Gantt chart, making updates to your project and your project documents, and even using the Kanban board all inside of ClickUp. You need to watch this entire video because you'll learn some of my best secrets with ClickUp. This is going to be jam-packed. So grab your cup of coffee, tea, or water, get excited here. And to follow along with this video and use the exact data that you'll see on my screen, download my free guide to go from beginner to pro in ClickUp at alvinthepm.com/master guide. First things first, ClickUp is a productivity management platform that keeps all of your projects, your team knowledge, and conversations in one app. So instead of having to switch between different software to get your work done, ClickUp stores all of it in one platform so you can work faster. ClickUp is actually used by many big companies like Logitech, Chick-fil-A, which I love their spicy chicken sandwiches, by the way, Zillow, AT&T, and even American Airlines. Just to name a few of its big features, ClickUp can track tasks, do mind mapping, store wikis, manage sprints. It even has an AI note taker, a chat feature, and a whiteboard. So if you're leading a traditional waterfall project or an agile project, ClickUp could be perfect for you. And I'm going to show you how to set everything up. First, sign up to ClickUp and create your free account using my link down below. As a disclaimer, I participate in the ClickUp affiliate program and I may earn a commission if you click on my referral link and make a purchase. This supports me at no additional cost to you so I can keep creating high quality and free content just like this. Thank you so much for your support. Now it's completely free to use ClickUp. I recommend creating your own account so you can follow along with this video and set up your own workspace that's separate from your company. That way you can play with it, test it out, and learn how to manage your projects. So when you first sign up to ClickUp, you're going to enter your name, your email, and then you'll set up your password. After you click on Play with ClickUp, you'll have to verify your account using your email address. Then you'll answer a few questions, and once you're inside, ClickUp will show a few tutorials. For us, let's click on Next so we can get started. Now, once we're finally in the matrix, this is the screen that you should see. At the very top is your search bar. So if you click it, you can quickly search for tasks, lists, documents, people, or any other items in your workspace. On the left side of your screen, that's the sidebar. This is the main navigation hub where you can access all of the areas of your workspace. First, you have your inbox, which is where you'll find comments that you're tagged in. So you could be mentioned in a comment. You could even be assigned to complete an action item that's from a comment. And then you have messages that are unread. Below this, you have all the tasks which are assigned to you. Underneath this portion, you have your favorites bar, where you can favorite a page that you visit frequently, like a project plan or a Kanban board, just as an example. And finally, we have all of your spaces. So the way that ClickUp works is that everything is organized from the top level all the way down to the individual subtasks. So at the very top, you have your workspace, which is the account that you just created. In my example, my workspace is called Alvin's Workspace, right? This is the highest level inside ClickUp. It represents your entire company. Anyone who joins your ClickUp will become a member of your workspace. Now, underneath a workspace, you have what's called spaces. You want to think of a space as an individual department or a team, like engineering, marketing, R&D, and so on. It's inside of the space that you create folders to manage your projects, your campaigns, or any kind of initiatives. Inside of these folders, that's where you write down lists to store your project's tasks. Each list is a group of tasks to complete your project's work. So for example, each list would reflect each of the major phases for your project. So that could be like research, design, testing, and so on. Is this making sense to you so far? Now I know this might sound confusing, but trust me, it's going to make complete sense when we create our project together in this video. Then underneath your tasks, then you have your subtasks, which are used to break down your tasks into much more manageable pieces of work. So overall, this is how ClickUp is organized. You have workspaces at the top, then spaces, then folders to contain your projects, and then you have your lists to group your project's work by phases. And underneath that, then you have your tasks and then your subtasks. In the real world, here's how it would look like. Your workspace could be called Alvin's Pie Production Company because, hey, even though I'm pre-diabetic, I still love eating pumpkin pie and apple pie. So good. Now, a space could be called New Product Development for one of the departments. And then a folder inside would be Process Improvement Project. And then you have a list to represent each of your project's phases, like planning, prototyping, testing, and then launch. So if we hop back inside ClickUp, what you're seeing on the bottom left side are the spaces for each of your company's departments or your teams. By the way, if you're getting value out of this video so far, be sure to smash that like button and drop me the words for "let's go" in the comment section. That's our secret handshake, so I know you like this content. It inspires me and keeps me going to create more high quality content just like this. All right, so let's set up our workspace together so we can create a project together in ClickUp. First, let's create a space called Engineering. We'll use this space to create our project. To create a new space, move your mouse to the left sidebar and click on the plus icon that's next to spaces. You'll see this new pop-up window for creating a space. In the field for icon and name, let's call it Engineering. Now to the left side, left click the icon and let's change the color to be purple. For the avatar, let's change the symbol so it shows two arrows that are pointing upward. You can choose anything that you like, but this is what I'm choosing. In the field for description, let's put here space for engineering projects. So we filled out everything in this window. Let's go ahead and click continue. Here, we have to define our workflow. Since this is your first project, let's make sure you choose the option for starter. At the bottom, move your mouse to default views. This is where you can specify which views are required for your project. In our example, let's say that the Gantt chart and the table are required along with the board. Make sure you stick until the end of this video because we'll go through these features in much more detail and my exclusive secrets to manage your Gantt chart. Now going back to our previous page, click on task status. Right now, our custom statuses are to do, in progress, and complete. My advice is keep your statuses as simple as possible so it's easy to know what stage in your project that you're in. These statuses are what you're going to see at the top of your Kanban board and the status that you'll see when you're updating each of your tasks. This looks good for now, so let's go back to our previous screen. We'll leave the option for ClickApps as is, and with everything configured, we'll click on Create Space. We have everything set up, so let's create our first project in ClickUp. Let's go. First, in the left sidebar, move your mouse to your engineering space and click on the plus symbol. Choose the option that says Folder. This is where we're going to call our folder the name of our project. Let's say that our project is building a doghouse project. In the settings below it, when you click on statuses, you'll see that this has the different statuses that we set up earlier. So to do, in progress, and complete. For now, let's click on create. And you'll now see your project folder that's created underneath your engineering space. Inside your project folder, this is the interface that you'll see. At the top, you have different views to dive deeper into your project. The first one is your Overview tab. Think of this like your dashboard to see a high-level overview of your project. The next tab is your Projects list. Nothing is showing up here because, well, we haven't created our lists for our tasks yet, but soon these will be populated with our work. The next view is our Kanban board. This is where we see our 3 columns that represent the statuses for to do, in progress, and complete. The fourth view that we have is our Gantt chart, which will populate with our tasks once we've added them into our list. And finally, we have our table. You want to think of this like an Excel table that shows everything to you in a compact format, so you can easily see your project's work at a quick glance. So to create our project, we need different lists that correspond to each of the phases in our project. The way I'm going to show you is one way that you can structure your project inside of ClickUp. So for building a doghouse project, let's say that we have 4 phases: planning and design, materials and equipment, construction, and finish and testing. So our first list will be planning and design. In ClickUp, let's rename our list to be planning and design. To do that, go to the highlighted list in the left sidebar. Left click on the 3 dots and choose the option to rename it. You'll notice that I add in the numerals for 0, 1 because it's going to help when we prioritize and we rank each of the phases with our lists when we view the entire project plan in our folder. More on that later. In the middle of our screen, ClickUp is showing our list, which is where we will input all of our tasks. But before we do that, we need to customize our columns so it's set up the right way the first time. Right now, we have these columns: name, assignee, due date, and priority. Since this is where you'll review your project's work, I recommend only including the bare minimum that you need to track. So to add a column, go to the rightmost column and click on the plus symbol. This is where you can choose from a large number of different options like text, date, number, formula, and so on. I encourage you to dive deeper and play around with this. For our example, let's search in this field for start date, and we'll turn it on by left-clicking the bar at the bottom. Let's go back and move our start date column so it's between the assignee and the due date column. Now the next column I want to add is for status, so we can see how each task is progressing. Let's drag and drop this column so it's right after the due date column. Now the column for priority, let's remove it by right-clicking it and choosing the option for hide column. We'll be using the due dates to determine the urgency of which task we should prioritize first. Now the next column for us to add is for progress. So when you type that word in, select the option that says manual in parentheses. For our column name, let's call it percent completed. And you'll see here that it goes from 0% to 100% completed. It's such a great way to see at a quick glance how much work has been completed for each task. By the way, when I'm setting up my lists, I like to format the widths of each column so that they all fit inside. A quick, neat hack that I highly recommend. And the very last column that we'll add is for comments. I personally like this one because when someone adds their latest updates to a task in the comments, you can pull it up immediately, so you'll always have the latest updates with the click of one button. And let me tell you from personal experience, when a director wants to know what the latest update is, this column will save you in so many instances as long as someone on the team inputs a comment for what the latest update was. So now that we've set up the columns for our first list, let's make this a template so we can reuse it to create the other list for each phase in our project. To do that, move your mouse to your project folder and then click on the plus symbol. In the pop-up menu that appears, choose the option for templates. And at the very top, you're going to see the template that we created together, Engineering Phase List Template. You'll also see a bunch of other pre-built templates that you can use from ClickUp. So left-click our template, and at the top, click on the button for Use Template. In the next screen for list name, this is where we can type in the phase of our project. So that would be 02, Materials and Equipment. Our list will be created inside of our engineering space for our Building Doghouse project folder, which is exactly what we want. We'll leave everything as is, and then we'll click on Use Template. Afterwards, our new list has been created, and you'll see that our columns have already been customized in the way that we want it to be. And this is the biggest reason why I recommend creating templates and using this to create your future lists. There's absolutely no need to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. Learn to be more efficient with your time by using templates so you don't have to work an extra 1 or 2 hours every day after work. So let's follow the same exact steps to create the remaining list for our project. Click on the plus symbol that's next to your project folder. Then choose the option for templates. In the pop-up window, choose the template that we just created and select Use Template. And in the list name, type in the words for 03 construction. Now we have our 3 lists for the first 3 phases of our project. We're doing a pretty good job so far. Let's repeat this step one more time to create the final list to represent the 4th phase of our project, which is for finish and test. And once you click on Use Template, you're going to see that you have all of your project lists underneath your project folder. When you click on your project folder, you'll see your lists that are separated from each other. And because we've numbered them at the beginning of each title, it's easy to see the order that each phase goes in. So it's already ranked by phase sequence. You see, we're being smarter with how we're approaching the design and structure of our work in ClickUp. Now we're ready to input our project's tasks into our lists. So click on the list for the first phase, which is for planning and design. To add a task, left-click your mouse into the first row where it says Task Name. Let's type our first task to be Define Requirements and then press the Return key. You'll see that blank information has populated for the other columns for assignee, percent completed, start and due dates, status, and comments. We're going to fill all this information out in a little bit. But for now, let's add in our remaining tasks. Let's say that our second task is choose materials for the house. Once that's done, press the Return key. And for our third task, let's type in Create Simple Design Sketch. And now we have all the primary tasks for the first phase of our project. But to show you something as an example, let's create a milestone together. Let's name this as MS, Draft Completed. I use the word or acronym MS for milestone. To change it to milestone in ClickUp, left-click the box that says Task. Then choose the option for milestone in the drop-down menu, and then click on the Save button. And now we have all our tasks inputted for our project's first phase. Let's go ahead. Let's input the remaining tasks for our other phases. So click on the second list for materials and equipment. And inside the first row, type in the name for the task to be Purchase Wooden Panels. And then click on the button for Save. For our second task, let's type this so it's Buy Items for Nails and Screws. Then click Save. For our third task, let's say that this is to get paints and waterproof coating. And for our fourth task, let's type this so it's called Gather All Equipment. And then click on Save. Now we have everything for all the tasks in our second phase. Let's move on to the third phase of our project for construction. Let's name our first task to be Build the Home Base. Our second task should be to build the home walls. And our third task should be to install the openings inside the home. Our fourth task should be to assemble the home roof. And our final task is to connect all the panels together. This is everything for our third phase of our project. Now, let's input the work for our fourth phase to finish out and test the doghouse. Our first task will be to sand the edges of all wooden panels. Our second task will be to apply paint and the waterproof coating. And our third task will be to test the doghouse stability. And finally, we'll place the bedding inside of the doghouse. Now we have all of the tasks inputted for each of the 4 phases in our project. I do want to show you what it takes to input subtasks in one of your project lists. So let's go back to our first list for the planning and design phase. Let's say that we'll add in 2 subtasks underneath the task for define requirements. To do that, move your mouse to the first task. Left click on the triangle that's on the left side. This new row is where you can type in your subtask. So let's say that we need to measure the dog size. Press your return key to save it, and then add in your second subtask to decide on the house size and the layout. When you collapse the task, you'll see that there are 2 subtasks mentioned to the right of the task name. Now let's add in a few more subtasks to the second task. So that would be investigate wood versus metal, and then investigate roofing material options. This is just an example so you can see how you would create subtasks underneath your project tasks. By this point, we haven't assigned anyone to complete all this work and these tasks, and we also haven't assigned any start dates to these tasks. I want to show you a quick shortcut that you can use to save you at least half an hour when it comes to setting up your work. In the left sidebar, move your mouse, select your project folder for building the doghouse project. If it's not showing up for you, select a tab for table. Think of this like an Excel version of your entire project plan. So it's no longer split up by all these different lists. It's all contained inside of one table. And the pro here is that it makes it so easy to assign people to different tasks and do any other updates. For our first task, underneath the column for assignee, left click it and choose your name, which in my case is Alvin. What's great about this is that you can left click the bottom right corner and drag and drop it down so it populates the rest of the cells. Super handy so you don't waste half an hour of your time updating your project list. Now for us, let's insert a column for the start date so that we can automatically update it much faster. We'll also have the column for priority since we're going to focus on the start date. For the first task, let's assign a start date to be on Monday, September 1. And my friend, there you have it. We've assigned myself to all the tasks and we've inputted the start date for the very first task. The next step is to add in the dependencies and the start and due dates for the rest of our tasks. So that's task 2 through task 17. The fast and the easiest way to do that is by using the Gantt view mode in your project. But first, make sure that you're inside your project folder view mode and not in your individual list. When you're inside the project folder, you'll see all of your individual lists underneath your project. Now the left sidebar is taking up a lot of space. So to collapse it, left click on the double left arrow at the top left corner. And now your Gantt chart will take more of the space here. And we can scroll through the left and the right of our Gantt chart using the bottom bar. And so you'll see that we have 4 lists that correspond to each of the 4 phases that we created in our project. If we click on the first triangle, we see that our first task has already been populated in the Gantt chart for defined requirements. Let's add in the second task for choose materials for house. Let's say that this starts right away on Monday, September 8th. Left click it once to add in the bar for the start date. Now, you just have to drag and drop it to extend the duration of that task. Let's say that choose materials for the house only takes 3 days. Now we have to add in all the dependencies. To add your dependencies, when you hover your mouse to the right side of a taskbar, you'll see this tiny circle appear at the end of it. When you go to the next task, you'll see another tiny circle to the left of it. All you have to do is left click that circle once and then drag and drop it to the bottom circle and you'll see a dotted line appear. When you release your mouse button, you'll see an arrow that connects a linkage between these two tasks. This creates a linkage or that dependency from the define requirements to choose materials for the house. Let's go ahead and let's create our next task for create simple design sketch in the Gantt chart. So left click it so that it starts for Thursday. Then drag and drop it to extend its duration to finish until Friday, September 19. Now, you see how it shows these two grayed out columns? This is for the weekend, but for me personally, I don't like to see the weekends. So you can customize it. Click on the settings button at the top corner and go to show weekends. Left click it so it's not enabled. Now your Gantt chart view should only show your business workdays. All right, now let's add in the dependencies between our two tasks. And there we have it. And last but not least, let's add in the milestone. We'll add it here for Monday. And you'll know it's a milestone because it shows a red diamond here. By this point, if we click on the button for auto fit in the top menu, the window will auto fit all of your tasks so you can see most of your product tasks on the same screen. Now, let's do the same thing for the second phase for materials and equipment. We'll move the Gantt chart to the right. Let's say that purchase wooden panels starts on Tuesday. And let's say that purchasing it takes about 1 day because it's available at your local store. Let's also make sure to add in our dependencies here. And now let's say that buy items actually takes place at the same time as purchasing the wooden panels, and that the task for get paint and the waterproof coating also takes place in parallel at the same time. But let's say that getting the paint and the coating takes a little bit longer because it's not readily available and we have to wait a few more days for it to arrive. So let's say that it takes 3 days, but all 3 tasks are still taking place in parallel. Also, let's make sure to connect the tasks together to create the dependencies from the milestone to the 3 tasks that we just added to our Gantt chart. Now for the task of gather all the equipment, let's also say that this takes place in parallel with the previous task, and it takes place over 1 entire week. So far, our phase 2 tasks all take place at the same exact time. Overall, our Gantt chart, it's looking pretty good so far. You'll notice that everything is following a waterfall project structure. Next, let's add in the task for the construction phase. Building the home base starts on Monday, and let's say that this takes 3 days to finish it. Let's link it to all of the other above tasks for purchasing the wooden panels, buying all the items, getting the paint and the waterproof coating, and of course, gathering all the equipment. Let's say that building the home walls actually depends on building the home base. But hey, it takes more than an entire week to complete this. So let's connect the 2 circles together to establish that dependency. Now to install the opening, we need to have already built of the home walls. So let's add it here on Monday and have it be done in 2 days. The next task for assembling the home roof, well, that shouldn't take too long. It should probably take about 3 days. Again, we'll connect all of our dependencies together along the way. And finally, we have to connect the panels together, which will take place after we assemble the home roof. And we'll stretch out this last task so it finishes over the next 3 business workdays. And now we have to add in the remaining tasks for our final phase for finish and testing the dog house. So sanding the edges of all wooden panels has to take place after we connect the panels, right? Let's say that this is on Thursday up until Monday. Let's connect everything together. And after everything is sanded, then we can apply the painting and the waterproof coating. But we have to let it dry for 24 hours. And we give it one more day in case something comes up like an unforeseen issue. Notice that I'm connecting the tasks together to create the dependencies along the way as we finalize our Gantt chart. Once the painting is done, we can test the doghouse stability, and we want to do this over 3 days. We want to make sure that our dog loves the house, not just in the morning, but also in the afternoon and the evening, spread over 3 days. And if our dog loves the doghouse, then we can proceed and add in the final dog bedding inside the house. If we collapse all of our tasks together and we click on AutoFit, we see that our entire project starts from September and finishes up until mid-November. And you can expand everything by clicking on the triangle option on the left side of each list. There we have it. This is our entire Gantt chart that we can reference anytime we're looking at our project's progress. With our Gantt chart set up, let's add in a few of our most important project documents. Open up your left sidebar so that you can see the structure of your entire space and all of your lists. Before you can kick off your project, you want to have a formal document called the project charter, because that's the starting point to communicate your project's goals and your objectives, identify who the key team members will be on your project, and establish at a very high level what's inside and what's outside the scope of your project. So let's create our charter inside of ClickUp. By the way, to use the exact data that I'm using to create my project in ClickUp and to follow along with this video, you can download my free guide to master ClickUp at alvinthepm.com/master guide. All right, so we're going to create our charter using ClickUp's built-in templates. As I've said before, why reinvent the wheel when you can use what's already been created? Let's be efficient with our time, right? So to create a project charter, move your mouse to the left sidebar and select the plus symbol that's next to your project folder. At the bottom, select the option for templates. You're going to see this pop-up window appear for ClickUp's Template Center. This is where you can access all of ClickUp's templates that are plug and play. In other words, you choose it, then you can use it right away. When you search for the document for a project charter, you should see this document on the screen. This is what we'll be using to create the foundations for our project charter. So click on the button for Use Template, and ClickUp will automatically populate the document with the structure of the document so you don't have to create everything from scratch. Just using templates alone can save you hours of your time. This charter has everything from the stakeholders to the team, the resources, to the entire overview of the project, as well as including what's inside and outside the scope, milestones, and key risks or issues. To start out, let's go back up and let's fill out the top table for our project organization. We're going to call this Building the Dog House with a duration of 3 months. We'll assign this to me, Alvin, as a project manager. And guess what? Our sponsor is none other than Clark Kent, or Superman himself, because I really loved the new Superman movie. If you liked the new Superman movie, definitely let me know about it in the comment section down below. It's always fun to connect with other people who enjoyed that movie. So we'll go ahead and we'll fill out the next section for the key stakeholders with myself, Clark Kent, and Lois Lane. For the next section, we'll list out our project team to include myself in the PMO and 2 other people from the Justice Gang. So we have Guy Gardner, aka the Green Lantern from the movie, and Hot Girl, and we'll assign them to the engineering department. And last but not least, how can we forget him? We have Mr. Terrific, who will be from the operations department. Now, once we fill this section out, let's go ahead and list out the major resources that we need. So for materials, that will be everything that's related to panels, insulation, paint, screws, and nails. And for our tools, we're going to need a drill, saw, hammer, and measuring tape, among many other things. For our project overview, this is where we give a short few sentences about what this project is. With our example here, let's say that the purpose of our project is to build a disaster-proof and weather-resistant doghouse for the almighty yet invincible dog named Crypto. I've included a few other sentences here just to give it a little bit more spice and more background. To save you time, I'll go ahead and I'll fill in the rest of the data that I'm including in my ClickUp guide into the rest of the tables here for success metrics, scope of work, deliverables, milestones, and key risks. Now, once you're done, you'll have this project charter already drafted out. The next document that's important to create for managing our projects is tied to our meeting minutes. Now, I like to use ClickUp's templates because it standardizes your meeting documentation. It's such a great way to track your action items and still have that alignment with your team. So to do that, we're going to follow the same steps that I showed you earlier when we created our project charter. Move your mouse to the left sidebar, then click on the plus symbol that's right next to your project folder. That way it's housed in your folder and it's not somewhere else. Then click on the plus symbol and choose the option for templates. In the new pop-up window on the very left-hand side, select the option for doc. And in the search bar, type in minute. And ClickUp will have different meeting minutes, but the one that we're going to choose here is a template for meeting minutes. At the top right corner, click on Use Template. It's here that we're going to name our document to be meeting minutes. In the second field, always double check that your document will be stored in the correct location, which in our example is for our Building the Doghouse project. After we click on Use Template, ClickUp will automatically create a document called Meeting Minutes. The cool thing here is you can drag and drop it on the left side so you can order it any way that you want in your project folder. Now in the Meeting Minutes page, the way that ClickUp sets everything up for you is you either use subpages for your minutes or you can use one page for your meeting minutes. Now what I like to do is let's delete the page for meeting minutes in one page because I like to store each of my meeting minutes as its own separate subpage or document. Just my own personal preference. That way it's much easier to find a specific meeting notes inside your meeting minutes hierarchy. Let me show you what I mean here. I'll create individual meeting minutes for certain dates that are underneath this meeting minutes structure. So as an example, we'll have one page titled 2025-09-05. And then we'll have another meeting minutes page for 2025-09-12, which would be 1 week later from that date. Now you'll see that we have two separate meeting minutes that we can auto-populate with exactly what we need. So everything from attendees, action items, items to save for later, your agenda, and of course, the most important topics that you need to talk about with the team. If you want to duplicate your meeting minutes, all you have to do is click on the three dots that are next to the page and click on Duplicate. Then you can rename the document for your next meeting minutes. This is how you can store all of your meeting minutes inside of one location for your project folder in ClickUp. For me personally, this is a great way to store your weekly team minutes that you can then add to every single week and not have to worry about looking and sorting through different emails and Word documents because, hey, it's all in one location. And also because everything resides in one ClickUp page here. You have a long form record of your meeting notes with actionable items and deadlines. To best track and manage your project's work, the very first thing that you can do is to update your tasks, right? So with our project, let's go back to our Gantt chart. To do that, move your mouse to your project folder that's found on the left panel. Left click it. When your screen appears, make sure that you choose the top tab to be for your Gantt chart view mode. If we click on the button for auto fit, all your tasks will appear and it should fit within your screen so you can see your entire project inside one view. Let's say that for right now, we're working on the task for define requirements. So first, we want to update your task because you're actually making progress on it. You need to input your latest updates into your project plan within ClickUp so it reflects your latest work. To do that, left click on the first task and you should see this new window. This shows all of the details for your task, which in this case is for define requirements. We see here our task name at the very top. Then we see the task status, assignees, dates, and any other details in this top middle area. As we scroll down, then we have our custom field that we created earlier when we customized our columns for our list. We added a specific column for % completed so that we could update our project's progress as we completed our work. So to update your task here, all you have to do is left click your mouse on the bar and drag and drop it to the percentage that you've completed so far. Let's say that we've completed 50%. Drag and drop it until it shows the number 50 here. And for our status, left click it so it changed the task status from to do and now it's showing in progress. To see what it looks like on our Gantt chart, let's go back to our doghouse project view by clicking on the link at the very top. So click on the Gantt view mode and you should see this screen. This right now is the task that we're currently working on. And you'll know that it's being worked on because the box icon that's shown on the left-hand side of the task is marked here with a blue color to it, which indicates that it's in progress. Now, what do we do to input our latest updates? Well, first, click on that specific task and we'll be taken into our task details window. What I like about ClickUp is that you can input your latest updates in the form of comments. So you'll have a history record of the progress that you made for each task. For our example, let's say that we completed obtaining all requirements to create the doghouse. After I click return, my comment will be immediately posted in this activity panel that's being shown on the right-hand side here. Now, if we go back to our doghouse project and we go to our list for the first phase of our project, we'll see the latest updates that we just inputted. Define requirements now has been marked with 50% completion. And we also see that there is one comment in the comments column. Did you catch that? At any time, if you want to see what the latest update is, just click on this comment balloon that's inside your comments column and it will pop up right away. So if I click it, it shows here, completed obtaining all requirements to create the doghouse. This is such a great way to quickly see the latest updates on each of your project tasks inside one screen. Alternatively, to quickly update your tasks, you can also go to your Kanban board at the very top. By the way, is it Kanban or is it Kanban? You let me know in the comment section. So you want to left click on the board. I want to point out here that we're currently in the list for the first phase of planning and design. Because of that, we're only seeing the tasks that are specific to phase 1. This list does not contain all of the other tasks from the remaining phases. This is really important to remember so you don't get confused as to why you're only seeing a few tasks on your screen. So going back to our Kanban board, to quickly update your tasks, you can move your tasks from in progress to completed if everything has actually been completed. Makes sense, right? For our example, let's say that we finished the first task. We'll drag and drop it to the column for completed. And we'll see this pop-up window appear because it has 2 subtasks that have not been resolved yet. Let's say that we resolved all 2 items. Now, everything will be marked as completed with a green color. Now, if we go back to our list mode, the task that we just completed will not show up because it's been completed. And that's what our filter is being shown here. If we go back to our Gantt chart, it shows a task that we just completed with a green color. You'll see that task bar in a green color. All the other tasks have not yet been started, and that's why they're still in a lighter bluish color. Is that making sense to you so far? Now let's do this again for another task. Let's say that we're working on the task for choose materials for the house. Let's mark the status of this task to be in progress. Let's also input our latest updates into the comments. We'll type in here that we're still investigating materials for the roof, and then we'll press return. What this does is it logs in our latest update into the activity window. We'll also update the percent completed bar to be 70% completed. Now, if we exit out of this task window by clicking on the X button at the top right corner of your screen, you'll see your list view again. We see here that our task has already been updated to be 70% completed with a comment that's inside. If you go to our table view, this is a quick and easy way to see what work is in progress and still to do if you like to visualize your work in a table format as if you're using Excel. Now, I want to show you how easy it is to visualize it on a Gantt chart. Let's say that you want to view your entire overall project plan. Click on your project folder at the very top and then go to your Gantt chart view mode. Because you're inside your overall project folder and not inside an individual list, your Gantt chart shows all of your tasks that are in progress or which still need to be completed. So right away, we know that the second task is still in progress. If you go to your Kanban board, your to-do list will show everything in your backlog which still needs to be completed. But it will also show the one task that is still currently in progress, which in our example is choose materials for the house. Now let's talk about how to view your entire project by only using one view. Right now, we're inside the project folder using the list view mode. Right now, you see all of your lists which represent each of the phases for your project. So you see the list for planning and design, materials and equipment, construction, and finishing and testing. You can tell the status of each one because it has a header for in progress, whereas everything is still marked as to do. What I like to do, pun intended, is I like to shorten the width of the column so it saves more space and I can see everything in one window. For me, I actually don't like to use the column for priority because we're sorting everything based on our start and our due dates for our project plan. This might change depending on what you're doing for your project, but this is what we'll do for our example. Let's add a column for percent completed so we can see the progress for each of our tasks. And let's also add another column for comments. That way, we can immediately see the latest updates a team member inputted when they complete a task. And when you do that, now you have this updated list view mode when you want to see your entire overall project plan at a quick glance. It's super helpful, so you have this high-level view across all of your project phases. All right, so if you stuck with me this far, you have now mastered how to use ClickUp for project management. And I want to congratulate you. You have learned a lot over the past half hour or so, and I want to encourage you. Feel free to go back, rewind, pause the video, and watch any areas of this ClickUp tutorial so you can create and manage your projects more effectively. And if you haven't done so already, download my free ClickUp guide so you can follow along at alvinthepm.com/master guide and fast track your path to learning how to use ClickUp. Now, if you want to learn the exact roadmap to land a project manager job, then please watch this video next, and I'll see you in the next video.